Hi there, everybody. My name is Laura, and welcome to Equestrian Skill Builders live broadcast, where we discuss riding position topics and share ideas and exercises to help you and or your riders. If you'd like to improve your riding and training, win more ribbons at your next horse show, or generally like other horsey-related stuff, then I think the exercises we're going to share with you today will help your riding forever in a good way. So guest hosting with me today is Jenny Paisley. Hi, Jenny. How are you doing?
I'm great, Laura. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. And Patricia Jellerson. Hi, Patricia.
Hi.
So Jenny Paisley is a USEF Large R judge, hunter, jumper, equitation, hunter breeder judge. Jenny has been a lifelong horse lover and was able to make her career out of riding and her equestrian endeavors. She began showing hunters and jumpers when she was 9 years old and competed successfully as a junior in riding on the indoor circuit for 3 years. And she also was the top 40 in AHSA medal finals. What is AHSA? Did I read that right?
Old USEF. Yeah.
Okay. American Horse Show.
I'm an old one. Yeah, it moved into the USEF in recent years. So it's, it's the same.
And now she is a USEF Large R judge and is founder of findajudge.com. Thank you so much, Jenny, for being here with us today.
It's great.
And also welcome Patricia Jellerson, who is also a USEF Large R judge and a regular on our live broadcast. Hi, Patricia. How are you doing?
Hi, glad to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much, everybody, for coming. Just love it. Love getting together with people on Saturday morning.
Mm-hmm.
And I am Laura Kelland-May, Equestrian Canada senior judge, hunter, jumper, equitation, and hack, and a senior steward, and a competition coach specialist, high performance trained. So I'd like to welcome everybody, and if you have any questions or comments, please put that in the comments here or ask your questions. We've already got a comment here from Madeline. Hi, Madeline with the snake. Thank you so much for coming back again. And so after our show last Saturday, we got some really good questions, and we're going to try and answer them for you today. And if you do have any other questions, please ask them.
We love questions.
We love questions. Yes. Okay. So we do have a couple people sent in some photos for us to review. Hi, Stacy. Thank you very much for being here as well.
Cute picture.
Big blaze.
Mm-hmm.
Cute. Okay. We do have some pictures. Do you want to dive right in with the pictures today?
Sure.
Okay. Now, just bear with me while I get my screen set up here. The first one is a video, and it's kind of tiny. You could see this here, that it's, I'm just looking through it. So you can see that this is a tiny, the video is regular size, but the person is quite small in the video. So it's kind of difficult to see. I'm just going to run it through so you can watch, and then we'll do the best we can. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
Oh, I'm pressing on the wrong one. Okay, there we go. So if you do want to send in a video, send it in from the side so we can see a profile view. You can see here it's very tiny, and the rider is, that's the best one there from the side. Mm-hmm. Try to send it a little closer and from the side so we can see what your position is like. The cute video, though, I like the way it's pieced together.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm going to try and stop it when she comes across the diagonal here. There we go. Okay. Okay, so Jenny, would you like to go first?
Sure. Like you said, it's a very cute picture. The turnout it's hard for me to see because it's about 1/4 of an inch. Very competent rider at this level. it looks to me. She's with the horse. She's organized. At this height of jump, I could see her hip angle being a little less bent over. Did we lose me? But I like her. I mean, overall, it's a very pleasant picture. I can't really see what her arms are doing because it's blurry. Have you lost me?
No, I can hear you.
Okay. Pleasant and nice, and it looks like her heels are down. The angles are pretty good. A little bit, like I said, could be a little more open in her hip angle just because the jump's not all that big. That's about all I have to say for this tiny little picture.
All right. And Patricia?
You know, I agree exactly with Jenny. I think for the size of fence, she's making a little bit too dramatic a movement, but she's with the horse and she lands in the right place after the jump and stays out of its way, and the angles look good. I agree with Jenny.
Yay.
Well, that's awesome. So yeah, I agree. I mean, I liked how when she was riding around, it looked like she was soft and following the horse. It doesn't look like she's interfering at all. And again, like you say, it's hard to see what exactly is going on with this rider because it is too small. So if you do send in a video, try to make it so that you are the star of the video rather than all the other stuff going around here. What about if you saw this person coming in for a lesson or a clinic with you? What are, I don't know, a couple things that this rider could do for exercises? Jenny, did you mention that it looks like she's making a big production about jumping a smallish jump?
Yeah, I would say work on controlling your hip angle, because your hip angle controls your upper body, and being down in your heels supports your upper body. So it's just getting control of that hip angle, and so that she can choose how far she bends forward. And I always believe in an independent hand. So you want your hand to stay soft and follow, even if you're slowing down your hip angle. So you can keep your body a little bit back and let your hand be light so the horse gets to use his head and everything. But so basically it's having a great leg to hold your upper body and then decide where you want your hip angle to go.
Okay, so you say your hip angle. Could you just kind of explain a little bit what you mean by hip angle and some exercises that this person can do if she goes out and has a practice ride or goes out to ride her pony tomorrow?
Okay. Well, the hip angle is how far you bend at the hip. So, and that also keeps you from jumping up the neck. It's your control of your upper body. So practicing a good long lower leg. And lots of people love the 2-point position to practice controlling your upper body. I personally like the old standing up position where you're straight from your shoulder, your hip, your knee to your ankle. And it is not a position you see at a horse show, hopefully. But it really teaches you how to control your lower leg, which all in all controls your upper body. So you grab the hunk of mane and then you pull yourself straight up. And you let the weight sink into your heel versus pushing into your heel.
So it's different than a 2-point, right?
Oh yes, it's not. Yeah, I call it the Paisley position. It's mine. Oh. I did it as a kid. I spent hours just getting control of my body. And when you can do that, because the shorter the distance, the taller you want to kind of click your hip angle open to help the horse have time to jump off the ground, then that's how you control your upper body.
Okay, so you said it's not a 2-point.
No, there's a straight line from, I think you had that picture that was moderate, but anyway, it's straight line from your shoulder to your hip, basically to your knee to your ankle, which seems weird sitting in a chair, but when you're on a horse.
So basically standing in your stirrups.
Standing in your stirrups. Yeah. And in this picture...
Is that it?
Yeah, that's the picture. And I would like to see his hip a little more forward and his shoulder a little more back. And you're like, how do I do that?
Oh, you want it like totally...
I want it straight.
Yeah.
And I think Jenny brought up a good point, because I actually use this exercise too, and a lot of times at the start of a lesson to get all the angles right. a very important part of this is sinking. When you sink back down in the back to a closer half seat, keeping your leg underneath you and keeping the right angles. Because most people can hold this position, but when they sit, they lose a lot of the benefits of it by changing everything.
And the mistake of the thought is that your weight is making your heels go down. You learn how to relax your ankle so that you're actually still supporting yourself a little in your knee and your thigh. So you're not just jamming down into your heel, because that will push your leg forward and you'll sit down. It's a relaxing thing. So it's learning how to have that wonderful lower leg position while you're relaxed too. Mm-hmm. Gravity just helps a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is almost what you're thinking, that what you do with this rider. You would like to see her like a totally straight line.
Yes. And in order to do that, you may need to grab a chunk of mane to pull your hips toward your hand up over the pommel, and then just feel how your knee and your ankle are your actual shock absorbers. Mm-hmm. And I just think it gets you a little more. And if your leg goes forward, you'll sit down. If your leg goes back, you'll fall up the neck. So it's a very teeter-tottery exercise. Mm-hmm. I love it. I think if you can do that at the walk, trot, and canter, you will have a beautiful lower leg. Mm-hmm. But hold the mane.
I haven't tried it at the canter yet, but that would be excellent.
Yeah, it's a balance exercise. Like I grew up in a small indoor ring with not having a lesson every day, so I learned a lot of weirdo things just for fun. Mm-hmm. And
you learned or you did?
Well, I did. I practiced, and I believe they should ride a lot not in a lesson so they can practice all this stuff.
Right.
Because nowadays it seems like people only have a lesson and they only jump. And I would love to see them ride other horses and ride your friend's horse and lots of different things.
I think when you give someone a lesson, they need a couple of rides on their own to kind of figure out what you were talking about and let it sink in. And I think, just going from lesson to lesson to lesson, you don't have time to absorb what you're trying to learn and do that hit or miss practice. Can I do it? How consistently can I do it? That kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah. So I think I agree with everything that you're saying. I not so much the standing up in the stirrups, but I think people should live in 2-point position, even if they're riding flat. If they're riding flat, I think the 2-point is a great way to develop your lower leg and an independence between your seat and your upper body. And I think that's what this person needs to prevent her from leaning up the neck as much as she did. But, on the other hand of that, I think it's great that she is understanding that she needs to go forward with the horse and not interfere, which is what was happening, right?
I would recommend for this person a lot of trotting and cantering over poles, bounce poles or one stride poles, so that she can control her body first without having the added complications of a fence to jump.
So here's a setup that you had for us before, Patricia. There is this thing here. This shouldn't be here. Let me just. So there's some things you can set up for your poles, right?
Right.
And I love the pole exercises, and I even add where they would canter one pole in the straight up and canter one pole in the 2-point and canter one back up in the straight up, and learn to move, because we get so stuck in our position. And I believe that natural people know how to kind of fix their position, but learners have to practice. And so I like to make them do the wrong position to practice how to get out of the wrong position. That makes some sense.
Good thought.
And so I call it the safe zone, where if you're not sure what's going to happen at the jump, you just sort of lock yourself in that median hip angle. So you're not forward and you're not back, but you don't move. Mm-hmm. And then if the horse chips or stands off, you're in a safe place. Meanwhile, your hands have already moved, so they're ready to follow the horse either way. And it's, it's just a way to sort of be invisible and let the horse do what the horse needs to do. Mm-hmm. because if you jump up their neck to a beautiful long distance, they might not even be able to jump.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's just practicing, and I love the poles. I think we should have more pole lessons and jumping lessons for the horse's sake, because it just teaches you a whole lot of stuff.
I worked for Nona Garson for a long time, and she always used to say, so true, the horse only has so many jumps in it. You know,
Right.
do you want to use them all in your practices, or do you want to save some of them for the shows?
Right. Very true.
Yeah, I think that's a very well-known type of saying. I think it's well-known saying that a lot of people say that, riders. You hear that a lot, and you see that a lot when you're watching people warm up. You can tell the people who don't have a lot of experience versus the pros. The pros go in the warm-up ring and they do 3 jumps or 4 jumps or whatever, and then they go in the ring. And then sometimes you see the other people go into the ring and they're jumping. You know, why are they doing that? They are leaving their best jumps in the ring.
And then they have a warm-up class.
Right.
And then by the time their real class comes, they can't make the distances.
Can I say something as a judge? I see that all the time.
Yeah.
Their warm-ups are their best round, especially the little kid horses, and then they slowly start falling apart. And by the end, you're like, oh, I wish I could have judged the warm-up for real. So you got to know your horse too. You got to know whether it needs to go in and spook or add or whatever. But most of the time, the wonderful old kids' horses just need to do their real courses. But I know the kids want to jump more.
When you have the situation where the horse really doesn't need, or sometimes a warm-up even affects the performance, but you have a rider that really needs a warm-up.
Correct. And that's part of the whole game. But it is, you know, when you get to the higher levels, learn what your horse really needs. Or the coming out of the ring or staying in the ring. I've actually had some horses that bloom when you stay in for the second course. And I think it's, you know, it's hard on the rider, but I think if you know your horse and you want to be competitive, you'll get that fit that you could do 2 rounds in a row to make your horse be better.
Right.
Okay, so let's go on to the second person who has, and then we do have some questions that we're going to answer, but I want to get through this one here too. This is a lovely person sent in their photo. Nice rider here. Okay, so Jenny, what's your feelings about this rider?
My first impression overall is great. And the angles look pretty good. To me, it looks like a saddle fitting issue more than her, because
what looks like a saddle fitting issue?
Well, she's sitting pretty far back.
Yeah.
And I like to see their knees a little closer to the front flap. And I think it just looks like there's a kind of a really big pommel in front of her, and maybe it's not comfortable to get up there. So you might want to consider raising the seat of the saddle up just a bit to level the saddle. And that might be all.
Like that saddle's a little too far forward on the horse to me.
A little bit, yeah. And but it looks like the pommel's kind of very tall. So so maybe just leveling the saddle might change everything. Because I know you don't always ride in your exact perfect size saddle, but it's making it level enough so you can sit well. And to me, it just looks like she's pushed a little bit back in that saddle.
So you're saying this here like this, that's kind of what the saddle is, and you're saying the saddle should be flatter this way.
Yes, because if you look at the, there's a pretty good pommel in front of her.
Yeah.
And so that climbing up on that's not very comfortable. So if you could maybe level the saddle.
And how do you do that?
They call them seat raisers, or you put a towel under the backside of the saddle. You make sure it's very flat on its back so it doesn't hurt the horse. But they call them banjos. They're a little foam thing that has a thing that goes up the middle of your saddle, and it raises just the back of your saddle.
A banjo.
Yeah, they're called banjos. They're foam. But you just, to me, it would be just an inch or two. It's not a ton, but you just see if the leveling of it would give her a easier way for me to see her leg get a little closer to the front of her flap.
Like a wedge pad for behind the saddle.
Exactly. But her angles are pretty nice. For a real equitation class, I'd like to see her shoulders just a little more back. I don't like to see people get all stiff and too worried about their equitation, but you want a nice straight back. She looks like she's turning to the right, so she's looking right. Her right hand is lower, probably. I can't see it. So I don't know. It looks very workmanlike.
Okay, Patricia, what about you?
Yeah, pretty solid, I think, for that level rider. I mean, her heel's nicely flexed, and her leg is, except for, as Jenny said, I would like to see her a little more forward in the saddle, but the saddle kind of helps that not be easy to happen. And her hands, to me, her fingers should be closed on those reins. That's a big thing for me, because they slide out of the hand so easily, and the kids just end up with pretty useless long reins.
Good catch.
Yeah, her fingers, her hands are a little flat there. I mean, I've got a bonus here. I can make it bigger and see what's happening. But so her fingers are open. So thumbs up, knuckles to the outside. I like how soft she is. Her upper body's soft. She's not balancing on the reins or trying to keep herself in the saddle. I love the way she's got the weight down into her feet and into her ankles, keeping her seat in there. And I just noticed this too, that I don't know if I can make it bigger or not. It looks like her helmet is really, really tight. I don't know if you can see that or not.
You mean under the chin?
Under the chin, but these things here, this should be around her ear. And it's not.
Fine.
Right.
It looks like her ear's in front of the clasp.
Oh, yeah, you're right, Laura.
And to me, that's a safety thing. So that should be adjusted properly.
It's kind of sitting on top of her head a little bit,
Yeah. But again, I am able to get it bigger. But that is something that you should consider if you're watching. Make sure that your helmet is the front and back should be around your ear. Check out online how to fit a helmet properly. But it does look like it's choking her. It looks pretty tight. Poor dear. But nice pony. Okay, so let's move on then. What is some exercises that you would do with this rider, Jenny, to help her with her position? Well, one is fix the saddle.
Right. And just a lot of riding. It's hard to really see how she even walks or trots when she's standing still. How's that for getting out of the answer?
Yeah. So Madeline says, "Yeah, I just got a new saddle." So this must be.
Is this Madeline?
I guess it is.
Just feel about the level of your saddle and see how that might make it a little easier to just be up in the saddle a little more. And like Patty said, it does kind of look far forward a little bit.
And what about you, Patricia? What type of exercises?
If the saddle is too far over the wither, it just messes everything up. The horses, it seems like it'll slide back into place a little more than it does on the ponies.
Yeah, my pony saddles went up the neck. Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah, that's why they have the good old croupers. This horse must have some withers. Yeah. Excellent. Okay, so let's move on then. Thank you so much, Madeline. Let's see. This is my new lease pony. So it's a new pony that she got for lease.
Oh, cool.
Thank you so much, Madeline, for sending in these pictures. If you have any specific questions or if you'd like to send in a video, we'd like to see that. Maybe we could help you out with that as well. Awesome. Okay, so let's go back here. I'm trying to do this. Okay, now let's go in. We have questions. The first question is how to prevent your leg from swinging back over your fences. This is one of the questions that we got. People send me in questions, or people ask me questions when I'm out teaching or whatever. So how to prevent your leg from swinging back. I do have some photos of that as well. Just let me get straightened out here. Okay, here's one. There we go. So do you think this rider's leg is swinging back, Jenny?
I think this rider's leg is following her upper body. And so again, if she could, again, we also don't know how hard this horse pushes off the ground. And maybe she needs to get that far up there to be with it in another 5 seconds. But it's more of her leg is going opposite of her upper body, in my opinion. It looks like her chin is almost hitting the mane. So if she could have slowed her hip angle down, then her leg might not be that far back. But like I said, it looks like a jumper, and it's possible that this thing fires off the ground like Shamu coming out of the water. And she just needs to be in that position not to get jumped out of the tack. So it's hard to tell on a picture. I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt. How's that? But I would love to see her a little less bent over in her upper body, which should make her lower leg be less far back.
Okay, so where would you... Go ahead, Patricia.
Laura and I talk a lot about having some space between your chest and the horse's neck, and just not having the upper body laying on the horse's neck. Correct.
And we also don't know, it's hard to tell. He doesn't look like he's running in a jump off or something, but if you're going Mach 90, things happen a little faster. But still, controlling your body is always an important part.
Something that concerns me a little are those polo wraps. They're really not put on correctly.
Yeah, they're all the way down. They look like traveling stable wraps.
Maybe she got there late.
Maybe.
Sorry.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, I don't know. But so getting back to her leg here, this rider, this is her hip angle.
Right.
Right.
It's very pinched.
Very pinched. So, but again, if she were to bring the distance between her shoulders and her hands gets bigger, get her hip angle here.
Right. Then you can change the angle of her knee, and it'll come.
And then her leg hopefully will come here. This is where we'd like to see your leg.
Correct. It's got to move a little bit, but yet yeah.
And it could be that, as you say, it could be the timing that the photo was taken. It was just that split second when the picture got caught, right? So
right.
Maybe the next frame is she's not there. Who knows?
It's true. Pictures are tricky.
Yeah. So if this person came to you for a clinic riding lesson, what would you do to have this rider to help prevent her leg, or another rider that came to you? How do you prevent your leg from swinging back when you go over fences?
Well, it's going back to the basics and having a great support when you're hacking, making sure her legs are strong and smooth and tight so she can ride without stirrups. Riding without stirrups is a great exercise. I don't think people on their own practice it enough. And then doing the poles on the ground with 2 point straight up, 2 point straight up, so she can learn to feel how to control her hip. Simple, but a lot of changing your habit is just repetition of the same boring good habit.
Correctly, doing it correctly though.
Yep.
Right. Repetition of the correct thing.
Correct.
We don't want her repeating the bad thing.
Habits. Yeah.
Right. And if it feels good, it's probably a bad habit.
So what about this rider?
her not enough weight down in her leg at all.
Yeah, and her stirrup is home.
And her stirrup is very long. It almost, well, it's a like a cross country saddle, but anyway, it's very long stirrups, so she can't get the weight down through her heel, which is, so she's using, to me, it looks like her knee to kind of hold herself on.
Yeah, that's what I think too.
So yeah, I would have to see the length of stirrup and how she sits in her saddle and all of that. But I think if she could change the weight down through her lower leg, would change everything for her.
But this is another rider with the leg swinging back. Is this the same root problem as this rider, or do they have the same problem, leg swinging back?
Well, they have a positional difference that's huge, and it's controlling your hip angle and you're controlling your lower leg and being able to balance yourself over the balance of the horse. So all in all, they have the same issue of body control. This girl just might need some tack changing to help her get a better position, like shorten her stirrups possibly.
I agree. And I think the big thing is having that stirrup on the ball of your foot. You know, when it gets home next to the heel like that, it's impossible to flex your ankle.
Right.
Yeah, so I think this rider would definitely benefit from your Paisley position where she stands up in the saddle. For me, I would certainly do 2.0, 2.0,
Right.
get that weight down into the heel and get some educated feel of the leg so that the leg weight comes down here. And like you say, Patricia, he's got to get the stirrup on the ball of the foot. And then again, same as the other rider, have the seat closer to the saddle and more distance between the chest and your hands. I mean, I like this where the reins are floppy. She's not interfering, which is really nice.
Right.
But there are some definite basics of getting the weight down into your heel that needs to be addressed, I think, for this rider. And that's the 2 point over the poles before heading out over jumps.
Right.
I find when riders' legs slip back over the fences, it's usually because they're pinching with the knee.
Definite pinch here for sure.
That makes both these riders are really, and that makes the lower leg come off the horse's side and slip back.
You know, I've got a picture of that. Just give me a second here. And I think this is again.
Sorry. I want to add something when you're teaching adults. Sometimes the perfect position for equitation is not what their body can actually do. So I do believe that adults need to get correctly balanced, but you might not have your heel as far down as everyone else, but yet you're effective. And it's learning to teach the person to be as effective with themselves as they know how.
Because body conformation has a lot to do with their position and their equitation. You know, there's some things that you're limited by your conformation of your body.
Right, or your arthritis in your knees or whatever.
Right.
Spin the wheel, whatever joint you have going there. So, Jenny, I think this is another one of your pictures. I don't know if you reckon. Yeah.
Yes,
so
how I like to see the foot in the stirrup. I like to see the foot in the middle to the inside of the stirrup, so your boot might touch that inside bar just a little bit. And I like to see the weight coming down through your ankle and relaxing to the inside. Versus, I know some very famous people teach putting all the weight to the outside of your foot, but to me that pushes your lower leg away from the side. So if your leg can just bend toward the side and rest there, your gas pedal is easier to use than when you've got your weight to the outside of your foot and you can't reach the horse.
So you like your weight there.
Yeah. Yes. And like if you'd almost let you, I was trying to show you, if you were standing next to me, the bottom of my shoe, just a tiny bit. So I call it cocking my ankle just a little bit. Yes. Because then your leg goes straight down the horse's side.
Like that?
like that.
Mhm.
And then you can use it as you wish.
That's to help get. So if this rider had, so this is a leg on the horse?
No, this is standing there. I mean,
Oh,
obviously
she's
the lower leg,
standing.
he's just standing there.
Okay.
But I just wanted to get the little example of a slight cocking of that ankle toward the
Yeah.
inside.
Okay.
Because you don't want your toes to fly out. But if you let the
Right.
weight sink down the inside of your ankle and you relax your ankle, your foot's just going to naturally turn just a tiny bit up.
Got it. Okay.
And it's all basically relaxing versus I'm going to do it and shove.
Mhm.
If
Yeah,
you try
shoving
to,
doesn't work.
right, it just pushes your leg too far forward.
A lot of times if people have trouble getting the depth in that heel, I'll say lift your toe,
Right?
so that you can drop your heel instead of kind of pushing the whole foot down in the stirrup.
Great thought.
Yeah, just changing the words a little bit. We had this discussion last week where somebody said, "Well, we want to raise the distance between more distance between your chest and the horse's neck," and another instructor said, "We want to make the distance between your chest and your hands more." And just that
Nice.
change in saying something, it's the same thing. We want to push your upper body away or whatever it is, but just using those two different things. So rather than pushing your heels down, pulling your toes up makes a difference in the way people kind of perceive things.
Mhm.
Just have to find whatever sticks.
Right. And that's why it's good to watch other people ride and listen to
Listen.
instructors, and because a lot of times we all are saying the right things, but the different ways we say it might connect with different people.
Exactly.
Right.
Just like swapping your diagonal, sitting for 2 beats. That's the way I was taught. And then I heard someone say, stand in your stirrups for an extra beat. And I thought, what?
Right.
Yeah. Same thing, different.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. So what about the fetal position? As somebody asked, how do I avoid the fetal position when you're riding?
Yeah. Well, for me, that goes kind of back to the last conversations we've been having.
Yeah.
It has to do with controlling your body. And then it's also a little bit in your head of figuring out, why do I get worried, scared, whatever the emotion is, and what can I do as I'm riding to just eliminate it, override it, not think about it. So I mean, an example for me, when I was doing the Grand Prix I would get so into my head that I would just count 1, 2, 1, 2, and let my body do what it knew, and my brain had to be quiet. So sometimes the fetal position is you're getting to the jump and you're thinking, oh my, oh my, oh my, and you slowly curl up in a ball. You need to change your thinking to just work on the rhythm. That's my opinion.
Okay, I want to back up a little bit. So when you're riding Grand Prix,
right?
How big are the jumps?
4, 6 to 5 foot.
Okay, so they're 4.5 to 5 foot jumps. You are still thinking about riding every stride. Like you are still thinking about your nerves and your confidence and your everything.
Well, I summed it up as I had the good girl and the bad girl, and the good pull on the reins, kick the horse, and they fought. So I had to just shut them up and just ride what the horse and I were feeling. So it's more of combined control. And I also had to call them non-classes because my psyche could whip me into not even being able to find the trot jump when I was nervous. So I had to lose the nerves and just go ride my horse over this gigantic fun course. And it's kind of silly to say, but it's
amazing to me that, people who ride over the big jumps like that, they're still like grappling with the same things. And we talked about this in the pre-show before we came on live, that when you're judging, oftentimes the warm-up is the best round that people have when we're judging. And it could be exactly the same thing that you were going through, even when you're jumping your 5-foot jumps.
Well, and to my defense, I mostly did the hunters, and all of the jumpers I would bring along, they would usually get sold before they got to the Grand Prix level. So I didn't have that much Grand Prix experience. I made a lot of horses and sold a lot of horses. So when I got to finally have my own Grand Prix horse, it was really exciting.
Yeah.
So it's the practice. It's, for every level of riding, you have to become not excited to be doing that level. So anybody, even the little kids, when you get to a horse show and you're so excited you can't think, you got to figure out how to make your mind still think as if you were at home.
Right.
So in my lessons, I announce, we're at the Washington International Horse Show. Here comes, and I announce a number and I say, on course now, because I'm trying to build a little bit of that thought pattern in their heads.
I think a lot of times the fetal position comes from lack of confidence and a little bit of fear. So I think you can make those corrections, but you have to kind of get to the heart of the problem and say, is this rider overfaced, either by the size of the jumps or the type of horse that it's riding, that there's a little bit of fear there. I mean, we all have fear and nervousness, but sometimes, I mean, you do get overfaced and you really need to take it back a notch.
Well, and in that exact comment, people want to move on so fast. I've done the 2-6. Now let's do the 3-foot. Do the 2-6 really well before you move on to the 3-foot.
Enjoy it. Get some championships.
Yes,
get
right.
some great ribbons. Enjoy it. Don't, as soon as you win your first class, don't be ready to move up, Right.
Or don't come to my lesson and I only jump 3-foot. Well, we'll be doing poles for a long time till you do it really well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's doing it well for me is more important than the height or whatever. I like the journey. A lot of people just want the end. So enjoy the journey would be my advice.
Yeah. So, and along that line, next week we have someone on, her name is Laura King, and she is a specialist in confidence and wellness. And she is going to be coming on next week to discuss about getting your confidence, gaining your confidence, and how to develop your confidence and that type of thing. So she's going to be our guest next week. She's written and coached some Olympic riders, and also written something in a horse magazine. I don't want to get the name wrong. So, join us next week then. Yeah, for sure. Because she's going to be coming on next week. That's Saturday, November 21st.
Oh, fun. I'll listen.
Yes, please.
My little people will listen.
Yes, and share. Exactly right. Okay, so as you see, Jenny, it is time goes really fast when we get here together and start talking about things.
I love it.
Yes. Okay. So next topic is first impressions. First impressions, what it means to the judge. And if you're just kind of joining in now, we have our guests today are Jenny Paisley and Patricia Jellerson and me, Laura. So we're going to be talking about right now, first impression, what it means to the judge. And Jenny, yeah.
Okay. For me, it's huge, especially in a flat class, because sometimes we have so many people in the flat classes that the way I've figured out how to keep them straight easier for me is I will stagger them as they come in the ring. So my first very impression puts you in 1, 2, or 3 area, and then I have time to watch you and make my changes as the class goes on. So your first impression when you walk in a hack class in front of me should be the best thing you do the best. If you don't do a good sitting trot, don't be sitting trot in there. Do something that will make me love you.
And we talk about that a lot, don't we, Patricia? The sitting trot.
Yes. If you're Isabel Worth, do a sitting trot. Otherwise,
well, if you do, if you do, or whatever makes me have a good opinion for you in a hack class. If your horse has a gorgeous canter in. If your horse has a gorgeous trot in. So that, and then as the class proceeds, you need to stay where I can see you without having to work to find you. So I've had a lot of people, and we're talking about in really big hack classes, but when they ride straight along the wall beside me, that whole side of the ring, I can't see them ever. Find the quarter line and come in front of me away from the judge's box so I can see you.
So Jenny, what do you mean by a big hack class? How many people are in a big hack class for you?
10 or above. 8 or 10, 8 horses I should be able to see easily. But, when you get to 10, 12, 20, then the person riding the horse has to, well, in
Be
any hat
smart.
class, yeah, you have to find yourself and be seen. And if, you need to ride up the side of that ring for one time or something, but if you stay there, I may not find you again. So I find that I watch the quarter line in front of me the most. I will glance across the other ring just to get a bigger view of a couple of them together if I need them. But you need to present yourself the whole time. And that, so even a not great moving horse might beat an excellent moving horse because it was easier for me to find him, enjoy him. So it's
And
not,
if that not so great moving horse comes in the ring and shows you the canter that it's its best gait, you say, "Oh, I like that horse. I'm going to mark it
Yes.
down." Oh, you noticed it, and then
correct.
okay, it's trotting. It's trotting. I kind of like its trot. Oh, I've got it already. Okay, who's next? Right? It's like
Right.
up, down, up.
Mhm.
You're
Right.
looking. Okay, do I have that one? Yes, I do. Okay, next. Do I have that one? Okay, I don't like it as much. So
Right. And then I'm not looking at my card the whole time trying to find numbers because I already kind of know that one was in my top sager. Let's find him. If a horse gets the wrong lead or something, I can find that number and circle it and know that I need to not leave it where it is. And that's how I do that. My little cheat sheets for my classes.
yeah. How about you, Patricia?
Well, so too, Jenny, when I first started judging, I was learner judging. I forget who it was, but someone told me that, and it was like this huge relief. I was judging some big hat classes, and I was like, I'm so worried. I lost this person. I lost that person. Did I get them in the right order? And the judge said that I was sitting with said, well, it's up to them to be where you can see them and to show themselves off. You shouldn't have to, dig them out of the woodwork. And
It's a horse show. Show
Right.
me.
Mhm. Yeah.
So
And
do you
I-
make your first impressions? Sorry, Patricia, do you make your first impressions from the in gate when they come in?
I do. And even people have to realize, like, especially in a hat class, before the class starts, if they're in there warming up, they're fair game. I mean, I'm watching them. And, if whatever you do, bad or good, is going in my memory and in my book, on my paper.
That's so true. I like that way you say that, Patricia, that you bad or good. And if it's in the warm up, you may not actually mark it down on the sheet of paper, or the judging may not have really started, but you have seen that horse if it's been nappy or if it's going around on the wrong lead or if they're schooling it. So exactly right. And as you say, it's the first impression.
Right.
First impressions do matter. If you are going in there and your horse has got his ears pinned and not willing to come in the in gate, that's going to go down on my sheet of paper.
Mhm.
That's going to go down on, I keep like the bottom right-hand side of my page. I keep that for horses that have done something that I don't want to place. If they bucked or kicked or pinned or been pinned their ears or been nappy at the gate, I put them down in my naughty list, and they don't get used.
And I think people don't realize, Jenny will agree with this, I think that so many times we need a tiebreaker. We have
Right.
riders that are very close, trips that are very close. And to me, that's when the turnout comes in. That's when the way the horse is presented, the way the horse moves in a jumping class, all that to me comes into the tiebreaker.
Yeah.
Very important.
Yeah, so first impressions do matter. Make sure, and that even I like what you say about the turnout. That so when you're standing at the in gate and your turnout is kind of as a judge, you're waiting for that horse to come in, and you say, "Oh wow, this horse it's beautiful turned out. It's grooming. The mane is beautiful. It looks like it belongs here. It looks like a winner." So you've got that flavor in your mind already that, wow, this horse really does look like a winner. So then it's up to the rider to say, yeah, I am a winner, or no, sorry, I'm not the winner.
Right.
Didn't mean to fool you there, but
Do you feel that
Um,
way though when you see someone come in and they say, "Oh, well, this horse really it looks the part. Now show me that you're
Yeah.
going to do the part." Or its mane
Right.
is disheveled, or there's a piece of straw hanging off the rider's boots, or the
Right.
reins are twisted, or you get an impression of that horse too, and you think, "Well, this horse doesn't really belong here."
Right. And I
And
was sitting with a judge I really honor, and I said, this horse walked in the ring and did a little something odd. And he goes, just wait, it'll show up if it really is a problem. And that has helped me a lot, because sometimes you overguess yourself. And then if you just go, well, let's just see what happens, then it pretty much shows itself to you, actually.
Very true. Very true. Yes, and I think a lot of times position, matters, because when you judge an equitation class first, a lot of times my top riders in my equitation classes on the flat are also my best riders over fences. That nice solid position follows
Yeah.
through over the
Right.
jump, and a weak or loose rider on the flat is going to be the same way over the jumps.
Correct.
totally. Okay, so I've got a photo. What's your first impression of this rider? Just a minute. So it won't get bigger. Okay, we'll just have to go with this.
Sadly outgrown.
You want to buy that horse for your beginning rider because it's safe.
Isn't that amazing?
That is funny.
Who would dare? So yeah, horse. This is kind of a segue into the next topic: horse suitability. Is there such a thing?
That's not.
Well, the horse suitability. Horse is he suitable?
The horse is suitable to go in a parade.
She doesn't have a helmet on. Like, come on, where's your helmet?
But his legs don't go below the belly, so hey. Oh my goodness.
I think that was great. Love that. Okay, so so this is a segue into our next thing. Horse suitability. Is there such a thing? I think it kind of ties into our previous topic about first impressions in horse suitability. It's kind of the same sort of, along the same sort of lines. Do you think there's do you as a judge, do you think that there's a horse suitability? Do you think riders are too big? Do you think riders are too tiny? Do you have a feeling about it?
Yes. I'm starting. Sorry, I jumped right in there. Yeah, the ponies, when the kids are too large, I'll make a little mark on my card, and it would be, unless it's really gross, it would be a tiebreaker. But because people are pretty good about not having too huge kids ride the ponies. Or if the huge kids are riding the pony, it's going to show itself in the ring and it needs to be trained. So that takes care of itself. And then when you get to the little teeny children on really tall horses, it scares you for a minute, but then the suitability is that what the horse, is it a nice horse? If it's a nice horse and a teeny kid, it's adorable. And that's the, you want them to be pretty close to what fits and works. But I would rather see a teeny kid on a lovely horse than a teeny kid on a nasty pony, because they'll ride for a lot longer than the ones that are getting thrown off in the corner. So you have to just judge every different thing, But you like to see a pretty picture.
I think it depends a little bit on the division too.
Right.
I think that in the children's and amateur divisions, I'm looking for a good match, a nice overall picture, and a safe horse, of course.
You're talking about a short stirrup versus amateur type of situation, or
I think in the equitation, definitely you're looking for suitability. In the hunters, I think there's a little more leeway. as far as that goes, than, you know, a rider that might be a little big or a little small for the horse. Except I totally agree with Jenny about the ponies. You know, sometimes you find a pony jock and it may not fit your horse, but you're determined that your horse is going to have a good ride, you know.
Yeah, it's training.
Yeah. So yeah. I think also last week we had a question as, what is a fancy horse? What does that mean? And I thought, well, you know, that's a really great question. What does a fancy horse mean to you? A fancy hunter, let's say, Jenny, you know, what does that mean? Is that along, I think that Patricia, you're kind of touching on it, you know, when you're saying fancy versus suitable, there's got to be some suitability in, you know, when you're doing the bigger classes, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think, to me, I always think of a fancy horse as kind of the trifecta, right? It's a good mover, it's a good jumper, and it has the right temperament, you know, and the ones that have all three really shine to me.
Right, and every human in the life has its own description of their fancy horse. You know, it's how, yeah. So there's a million ways to define a fancy horse, but I believe the trifecta is correct. And beautiful is always nice. In certain worlds. Certain colors make it beautiful. You know, there's a million ways to. But I think a good brain in my world is the most important. But yet, that's not always the prettiest or best mover or whatever.
Well, again, I think that depends a little on the division. You know, if you see in a children's class, say, I'm really looking for suitability, and if
Right.
a horse is a very nice horse, but always on the edge of maybe being a little too much horse for the rider, or a little by the seat of their pants, that rider's gonna get deducted a little bit compared to the rider that is on a horse that seems very safe and very suitable.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So before we sign off today, if there's anybody have any questions, because it is 10:27. See how fast it goes, Jenny?
It's fun.
Yeah. So I wanted to leave off today with a video that I found. It's Richard Spooner in 2002, where he's going into a combination and he loses his reins. And I just wanted to, it kind of goes into what we were talking about today about keeping your base and being secure in your saddle. And Jenny, what you were talking about, being able to keep your body and your angles. And when things go wrong, your body has to know what to do. And I think this really, really showcases what it is. So if you just bear with me while I cue it up here. And I want to see, can I get rid of all that stuff? Yes, I can. Okay, so let's see if this works. There's no audio. So there he comes over, and then he goes into a competition. He loses his reins. He totally no reins. And then he just picks his reins up. Look, he just picks his reins back up and continues on. And those jumps
are huge.
Huge.
Yeah.
I just blows me away. I mean, I could watch that again and again and again and again. And if you
watch the rider, and that could have really been a disaster, right?
Well, yeah.
He just got, okay, you totally hit the first, like wiped it out completely. I'm just going to give you your head and get me out of here. And he just was amazing.
He's a magician. He has such a good balance with the horse that he just stayed with the balance with the horse. And the key was he dropped his reins. If he held his reins, it would have been a big crash. I think, because first, the horse
he didn't
needed
just slip his reins, like he totally
just dropped them.
let them go.
And he made himself stay up. He was doing his stay back.
Yeah.
And if you listen to that with the sound, the moderator goes, "I'd have been pulled it on the right rein so hard." But yeah, no, that's body control, and you get that by practicing hours and hours, and it's natural too.
Yeah.
That boy has talent. That man has talent. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so we're going to wind things up here. It is 10:30. I'd like to thank
Thank you.
Jenny and Patricia for coming here with me today and talking about horsey related stuff. If you do have any questions, this is going to be, you can watch the replay on Equestrian Skill Builders on Facebook or in my YouTube channel. And we'd love to see you again next week. So thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Jenny, any final words, Jenny?
Keep riding, keep practicing, ride as many as you can a day.
Excellent. And how about you, Patricia?
Make sure you do at home what you're going to do in the shows. Don't
Very
go
good.
to a show without having practiced exactly what you're going to be doing. I'm not saying duplicating courses, but make sure that you're ready to go in the ring.
All right. Now go use this stuff and go hug your horse. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.